Welcome back, everybody, to Chasing the Rut, brought to you by the Wild Faith Podcast. My name is Evan Bungham, and tonight I have an exciting guest for you. I have Zach Felten in the house. We're going to be talking about tactics and strategies for the week of November 3rd. We are in the thick of it. We're in the very brink of the rut breaking out here in central and southern Minnesota and across the rest of the Midwest. So without further ado, Zach, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you on, man. And it's good to have you got company behind you, which is nice.
Yep.
Good old skyscraper.
Yeah, I'm looking for another one of them. See if I can find something here.
That would be nice. So, Zach, just kind of give us a little bit of a background on where you're located at and what you've been seeing for sign and conditions out locally where you're at.
Yeah, I'm down in southeast Minnesota in Bluff Country. Been off a couple days here to hunt and been seeing a lot of the little bucks out bumping does. Pretty nocturnal movement on the big guys so far, camera-wise anyways. Of course, they could be in there still moving around, but so yeah, mornings have been a lot steadier for movement up until probably 9-10 o'clock. Hasn't gone all day yet, so I'm thinking, we're still kind of in the pre-rut, but that's been going on. I started seeing pre-rut action Sunday. I think it was the 17th, but 2 Sundays ago, started seeing some little ones already out bumping does from the house. That was kind of cool, but yeah, that's saw a couple little guys making scrapes this morning. Definitely postured like they were going to fight. Never actually did. One kind of just bumped the other one off and they went their separate ways, but sat tonight, saw a couple. I think it was like a little 6, kind of hard to tell. He was a ways out there. And then a spike or 3-point out in the hayfield chasing. But yeah, it's been, the little guys are definitely moving. Yeah. So
start to your rutcation, right?
Yes.
Nice.
So
it's the best feeling.
Yep. The wife was very helpful this year. She took the little man because he loves to be outside, and we live pretty much right in our woods that we hunt. He likes to be outside and playing, so they're actually staying at her parents and my parents here over the next, hopefully not super long, but potentially 2 weeks.
Nice.
So hoping to get it done before that, but that was, I'm grateful for her doing that and really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. And so, I mean, being down in Bluff Country and where you guys are at, is there any, being that we are kind of in that bubble, I would say, of where we're, first front that comes through could really kick these deer in the high gear where they're going to be running all day. We're talking that those mature whitetails might get locked down with those first does and, things are just going to happen real fast. Is there any tactics specifically that you're trying to employ within hill country where you're at?
Definitely play in the wind, which you should play anywhere. Thermals are a thing. I guess I used to hunt in a little bit flatter country over in Mower County, and that's been a change going from there to here. Because over there, wind's true. Whatever it's doing, it's true. Over here, you got a little more tactical,
a little more
playing the hills. Yeah, and I'm learning that slowly because, you look at a stand, you look at topography, and you think, okay, southeast wind, that's going to be a killer wind, and you get in there and it swirls. And it's like, whoop. So learning that as we go here, but definitely play the wind, which you should anywhere. I've learned throughout the years, I've hunted down here before we owned land on a buddy's for 10 years before I bought mine, I think, maybe 11. So I've had a little experience. I didn't hunt down here as hard as I did back home when that was going on. But one thing I've learned, we bounced around a lot, and he's even said it recently this week. We've talked a few times, bouncing around, trying to chase the deer where they're at. And I'm trying to get away from that. Obviously, don't want to sit in any stands when the wind's wrong, so I'm not doing that. I'll bump and go. Like tonight, I sat in a stand I've never sat in before just because northeast wind, and I really don't have any sets for it. So But I'm not trying to chase the deer anymore.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the right wind and pouncing, and I'll probably sit. Like, it looks like we got northwest and west northwest the next 3 days, and a temperature drop.
Is there any specific like terrain features that you're trying to focus on?
I look at rock cliffs a lot, or drop offs.
Mm-hmm.
Use that to my advantage. In the mornings it's tough because you just hope that you're in far enough where you're beating the deer there and the thermals start rising before they come in, because they can still get you, right? They can still go below the rocks, and they do. But yeah, I use a lot of that to my advantage. Quite literally almost all of it. When I start thinking about it, I got like 3 stands that got a good drop off to whatever side.
Have you thought of doing like a vertical limit, like hanging on the rock cliff to hunt the deer?
I've thought about sitting in the rocks. There's one that actually my brother sat in it.
I remember you talking about setting the blind up.
Oh yeah. Well, that was on the other land, that we sold. So that one we put it right on a rock because it was literally just a complete. I mean,
crazy.
There wasn't a big enough tree. Couldn't get a stand up. I'm like, all right, this thing drops like 10 feet. Gives me a little elevation. Mm-hmm. There was a nice trail in front of it. That helped for, having another set. But, when I start thinking about it more, a lot of mine I'm using my driveway. So my driveway parallels my entire east side. So access there is great, right? You can slide in and out pretty quick, especially in the evenings. Mornings can be tough because you got egg on the east, so you got to be careful there, but getting smarter there. I've only been here 2 years, so learning. But like, I'll play that to my advantage. I got to stand down there where I can blow my wind right down the driveway. Yeah, sometimes they'll cross it, but tends to work there. And then the stand I'm excited to sit in, which we finally got the west, northwest, and northwest one, is not being lazy. It's close to the house, but it blows all my scent right back into the yard. So that one, yeah, that's just a matter of time, Stan. That one's been money the first 2 years here. So,
and I got to give you credit to where you are probably one of the most meticulous and patient bow hunters that I know of. And I feel like, and you were talking just about this just a little bit ago, and I want you to touch on a little bit more to where you were talking about bouncing around and chasing the deer, which I feel like which I'm kind of doing right now, which I need to stop, but I'm trying to find a deer to hunt up here on public right now. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, especially to where it's like, especially when you're hunting, historical data or, particular like the farm that you own or like the farm we own back home, certain areas that that you're going to have a shooter go through at some point in time, and being patient and having the right wind and just sitting that spot out. Is there, maybe just speak on that too a little bit, rather than doing that other approach of where you're trying to chase the deer?
Yeah, I mean, when you're chasing the deer, you're already a step behind. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, he could be there 2 days in a row. You might get lucky. It does happen. But I did that for, like I said, I'm learning. The first 10 years down here, we did that more than we should. And yeah, recently, I mean, obviously the flatland back home, back where I used to live, I had years and years, like this guy back here, of like, we had 4 years of pictures of him. So we knew when, where, wait for the wind. Had a lot more pinches back at that spot than I do here. Here I'm hunting big timber, which is big block timber. It's huge. So it's a whole different thing. But yeah, so I was already looking at I've been here 2 years, the last 2 years, and kind of figuring out, okay, whatever the buck was of that year, shooter wise, when they were showing up. And I've got it narrowed down to literally tomorrow, which is the 30th of October, through November 4th. So again, getting excited about that because it's a matter of time. It's hard to be patient. Mm-hmm. I struggle with it. I've been struggling. Like last night, I was driving myself insane trying to figure out where I should go. I'm just like, all right, just wait. There's no other
feeling, like worst feeling in the world. And I suffer from this, especially when I'm going in like blind to spots where it's like, you have a plan, you leave your house, you have a plan. And then all of a sudden you get to the woods, especially in the morning times. or in the evening too, but like the morning, especially where you get in the woods, then all of a sudden it just sets in where you're like, okay, where should I go? Then you second guess everything that you do. And it's like, oh, should I go in that tree? Should I go in that tree? And then it's gray light. You're like, oh God, I got to pick a tree.
Yeah, especially when you're hanging, that's difficult.
Yeah.
Which we talked about it the other day, but it's dawned on me, and I've obviously thought about it a lot. You were talking about a saddle. I should try one, but being a little more mobile would probably be a benefit to me. Like tonight, I could have went and just picked a tree. Like I just picked a random stand, but I could have walked another. I would have, if I had the setup, probably walked another. There was a spine in front of me or whatever, like a rise, going into egg, and this stand, someone else set it up, but it was halfway down that. I like to be on the top.
Yeah.
You can see more. You can shoot both sides of that spine. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why, but yeah, so back to not bouncing around. Yeah, so it like I said, it can work out. It hadn't for 10 years for me, so I'm like, all right. And then I think just being patient's the hardest part. But yeah, knowing when the deer are on your property. So like I had earlier this season already, I had 3 shooters. One's a 4-year-old freak, but show up between October 2nd and I guess the last one showed up October 17th, but he's still kind of around. But they showed up early, and they did that last year, right? So those 2 same bucks. One of them went MIA for like 2.5 months last year. So I'm like, okay, I might not ever see him again if he's like 6 years old, we think. He could still show up, right? But the other guy that, we call him Superstar, but he did the same thing last year, was here for about a week, which is what happened this year, 7 or 8 days in a row, nocturnal pictures. Had one that was like 5 minutes daylight, but then circling back, he came back. The 30th was daylight last year, 31st. I saw him. He was 140-inch 3-year-old last year. Saw him on November 2nd from the stand, passed him. And then November 4th, he was daylight. So again, going back to historical data, especially on that deer since he's still around, hoping that's what he does this year. If he doesn't, whatever, there's other ones that I'm sure will show up. I've had, like I said, one showed up on the 17th, and he was back nocturnal last night. I can't tell. I had a blurry picture of a buck tonight, and I had about 6:30, and I think it might have been that. It's like a 6-year-old. We call him short tine 10. He's just mass, and I'd be happy with him. He's an old deer, so I guess.
What would you say? Because I know where you guys are at. Still, you're in a little bit of egg country too, and this might be a problem for some, and it might not be a problem for others. But I know in particular, a lot of farmers right now are getting all their crops out across Minnesota. We've been kind of stuck with a little bit of rain here these past 2 weeks now, where it's been fairly wet, and I'm assuming that there's a lot of corn that's probably going to get pushed out where it's not getting picked. Is there anything that you would say in terms of changing a strategy or anything like that to where if there is still egg up, this could be talking about like back home for both you and I, to where, egg's still standing, and that seems like that usually always houses a lot of deer, especially when we get into the gun season where they just kind of retreat back to those waterways. Is there anything that you could do to increase your success rates being where you're hunting at?
Yeah, I mean, like around here so far, we've been lucky. There's only one cornfield left up top here. I think that's coming out this weekend. So to the crop thing, I'll come back to your question. To the crop thing, this year I noticed, again, learning as we go. The week that I had beans by the house this year, the week that those got picked, because he actually picked most of them, broke down for like 3 or 4 days, and then got them out. But that week was like dynamite. Like obviously it was like one of the first fields picked, grain on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome. As soon as those cornfields came out, though, I tell you what, my cameras went dead.
Yeah.
And everybody, like the neighbors, like where he has them, which is on the cornfields, boom, dynamite picked up. So that's more of we're probably too late, but some people might have cornfields that are still in that. Hey, as soon as they pick it, I would probably be sitting.
Yeah.
I would be sitting that night and maybe the next night. around that cornfield if you got a set. But if something's sitting, like, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it was amazing to see the switch for our farm as soon as, we still probably have, 800 acres of corn that's still, it could be out at this point, but I'm assuming it's still up right now just because it's been really wet. But as soon as they picked the 3 surrounding fields to part of our property, we had a couple deer in the destination food plot and some of the kill plots, but a couple nights here and there, we get a couple does and a couple little 3.5-year-olds, and then all of a sudden it was like they picked the corn every night. The whole parade of deer coming in, smashing the greens. Now that they're going from greens to grain, and then it's that process is just picked up, where all of a sudden the camera just came to life.
Yeah, Brady's food, my neighbor, his food plot has picked up recently too. Literally in the last week. And that cornfield was picked literally last Sunday, I think it was finished. So that would make sense. About a week of, he was just telling me today, his activity on that plot's really picked up, and he's got greens. I don't think they're hitting the turnips yet. Well, they might be. It did frost. They're probably not bitter anymore. But yeah, if you have, back to if there's a cornfield if you have a set where, I used to hunt edges of cornfields. I used to hunt a pasture back in flat country. And obviously, maybe it's not obvious, but cows and deer do not get along. Cows, you push them out. I'd hunt the fence lines. Guy had a nice green strip. It was only maybe it was kind of like the one spot you guys have back home where there's that grass strip around the woods. If you can set up on that edge, you're going to, especially during gun or once they know they're pressured, you're probably going to see something. Might be last light, right? If they're, know that we're after them. But yeah, if you can hunt that edge, that's how I shot this guy. Only cornfield left. It was November 2nd. Wind was the gusts were 45 or 50 miles an hour. Me and my brother sitting on the couch, and we're like, man, it's the last, we both had school and work. This is the last weekend before gun. What are we doing here? Let's go. And yeah, we were only sitting 70 yards away from each other, but he came out of the only cornfield, hit that grass strip, shot him on the grass strip.
Big old moose.
The rest is history. So yeah, that was actually our strategy that night. It was okay, we can go to these 2 stands because of the wind. This is the only cornfield. If I was a deer, where would I be? And sure enough, so a little luck involved. You never know when they're going to come out, but
I think there's always a little bit of luck involved. And I guess, too, just kind of closing things up here, what is something of just some advice that you'd give to hunters going out this next week here, this final push before gun season kicks off, that you'd like to say to them?
Patience.
Patience.
Don't go into a set. If it's going to be your last set before gun, and you're okay, this is the best set I have, I'm going for it. I get it. I get that.
Are you diving into your best spots right now?
I had that southeast wind, and I had seen some rutting activity, right, the week before on the 17th. So I went in on the 25th, I think it was, to one of my stands that I was going to wait until, now, pretty much. But I don't have a good wind for it now, so I'm glad I did when I did. I've only been in there twice. Did I see deer? Yeah, I did see deer the one night. The other night was a skunk. But yeah, this year's been tough for me, movement-wise, but it can be disheartening, but don't give up. Obviously, it's just a light switch. You got to be in the right place at the right time. Like you said, I don't think most people probably don't want to admit it, but a lot of it is luck. Obviously, right place, right time. That's luck right there alone. But obviously, you got to know what the deer do, what they've done in the past, what mature deer have done in the past. That property back home where I shot most of my bucks, it was like you said, historical data. These are the days when pre-rut starts. This is when it's full-blown rut. And then obviously you can see that on camera. If you sit enough, you'll see that. But if you know that, you can already kind of plan for it. I've noticed even moving over here, side note, that our pre-rut is about a week behind what it was over there, maybe 4 days. I was shooting most of my deer between October 23rd and 27th in flat country. And over here, I've only shot 2 over here, but they were November 7th and the 13th, which was kind of late. But, back to my what I said earlier, the 30th through the 4th looks like that's probably my best opportunity from what I've seen in the past.
Yeah.
So just interesting how it varies. And I'm only an hour from where I used to live. So.
Well, Zach, thank you so much for jumping in and giving some time out and giving some free tips to everybody. Good luck the rest of the season, and we will catch you guys next time for Chasin the Rut.
Yeah, good luck out there, guys.